I wasn't even supposed to be there. My plan was to microwave leftover pasta, scroll through TikTok, and maybe fall asleep to a crime documentary. But Bree showed up at my door in full glam, tossing a sequin dress at me and yelling, "You are not rotting in this apartment tonight." I tried to say no. Josh had barely slept after working a double, and it didn't feel right going out while he was passed out upstairs. But Bree gave me that look. The kind that says, "You've been disappearing into your relationship, and I'm not letting it swallow you." So I got dressed. Welcome to Reddit Tales. Make sure you like and subscribe for your top-notch Reddit drama. The club was chaos. Bass pounding, bodies sweating, neon lights slicing through smoke. I felt old and out of place at first, but 2 shots in, I loosened up. The air was thick with perfume and regret, and I started to laugh again. It felt foreign, like trying on someone else's life. That's when I saw him, Theo. He wasn't dancing or acting loud like the rest. He stood at the edge of the bar, sharp suit, silver watch, just watching the room like he already owned it. For a second, our eyes met, and he smiled. Not cocky, not creepy, just calm, confident. I looked away, heart ticking a little faster than it should have. Josh hadn't texted all night. Not that I blamed him. He was always tired now. Always working. I knew he loved me. Deep down I did. But lately, he barely looked at me. We hadn't had a real conversation in weeks. I danced with Bree and Liv for a while, letting the rhythm push the guilt away. But every time I glanced over, Theo was still there. Same spot. Same eyes. I wondered if he was waiting for someone, or if he was just the type who didn't need to try hard. Around midnight, Bree disappeared with some DJ, and Liv was deep into her phone. I stood near the back wall, sipping my drink, pretending not to feel Theo inching closer. When he finally leaned in, his voice was soft, low, like it belonged to a different world. "Rough night?" he asked, smiling. I didn't answer right away. I just smiled back and said, "Something like that." I didn't plan to talk to him, but once Theo started, it felt impossible to stop. There was something disarming about him, not just his looks, but the way he listened. Not many guys do that anymore. He wasn't trying to impress me with cheesy pickup lines. He just asked about my week, my job, my stress. I told him about nursing school, how I'd been skipping meals to pay bills, and how I missed my boyfriend even when he was right next to me. I didn't realize I was venting to a stranger until I saw the clock behind him. 1:17 a.m. Theo offered to walk me outside for air. I said yes. Maybe I shouldn't have. The breeze hit my face like a slap. I didn't even feel that drunk anymore, just heavy, like the whole week had collapsed on my shoulders. We sat on the curb near his parked car. I remember the way the city noise faded, like we were in a bubble. Then he reached into his jacket, pulled out a card, and said, "If you ever want to get away, even for a night, just call me. I'm not asking for anything, but I do have something to offer." I looked at the card. His name was embossed in gold. Below it, CEO, Veltros Holdings. I asked what that was, and he just chuckled. Let's just say I can afford to be generous. He didn't press, didn't touch me, just let the silence do the work. Before he left, he said one last thing that stuck with me. Everyone deserves to feel seen. When I got home, Josh was still asleep. His arms were sprawled across my side of the bed. I crawled in beside him and stared at the ceiling, feeling like I'd just stepped over a line I couldn't name. The next morning, while he was in the shower, I found a missed call from an unknown number. A few minutes later, a text. "Still thinking about you. No pressure. Just dinner." I stared at it. My heart was racing, but I didn't delete it. By Friday, I hadn't replied. I wasn't going to. But I caught Josh liking photos of his ex again. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just stared at the message from Theo and started typing. Dinner turned into drinks. Drinks turned into a rooftop lounge. And the rooftop turned into a suite on the 47th floor of a downtown hotel. But I need you to understand something. I didn't walk in there intending to sleep with Theo. I kept telling myself I was just curious, just lonely, just angry, that it was just dinner. But curiosity doesn't end when you're sitting across from a man like him, who makes you feel like the center of gravity shifted the second you walked in. And anger doesn't melt away when he leans in, smells like ode and danger, and tells you he's booked out the penthouse so you can have silence for once in your life. We didn't go up right away. We sat on the rooftop for an hour. I didn't talk much, but he didn't mind the silence. he just watched me. Not in a predatory way. More like I was a puzzle he was figuring out one piece at a time. I told him about Josh, about how I always had to fight for his attention, how love started to feel like a routine with no pulse. Theo never insulted him, never compared, just said, love without presence is a body without breath. I should have left. I even said I would. I stood up, told him thank you, and that I wasn't that kind of girl. He just nodded, said he understood. I walked halfway down the hall before I heard him say, I wasn't lying, about the money. I turned around. He was holding an envelope, thick, unlabeled. I didn't ask how much was in it. I just stared at it while my heart pounded. Then I said something I still don't fully understand. Why me? He walked closer. Quiet, serious. Because I know what it's like to be invisible in your own relationship, and I don't think that's fair to someone like you. I stood there trembling. I wasn't drunk. Not anymore. I wasn't even confused. I was hurt. I was desperate to feel like I mattered. And that night, it felt like the only way to reclaim something was to surrender everything. I took the envelope, and I followed him upstairs. The suite was almost too quiet. I could hear the faint hum of the city below, the clicking of my heels on polished marble floors, and my own breath, shaky and unsure. Theo didn't touch me right away. He poured me a glass of something dark and expensive, handed it to me gently, and sat across the room, giving me space like he was waiting for me to come to him. The envelope lay on the table, untouched since I followed him in. I hadn't opened it. I still hadn't asked how much was inside. It wasn't about the money anymore. I sat beside him, sipping slowly, barely tasting it. My heart was thudding in my ears. It wasn't lust. It wasn't romance. It was a cocktail of guilt, sadness, and the terrifying realization that I didn't care in that moment. I wanted to forget Josh. I wanted to forget the way I'd begged for his attention and felt like a burden. I wanted to feel like someone wanted me completely. So when Theo leaned in and his hand rested gently on my thigh, I didn't stop him. I closed my eyes and let it happen. Afterwards, I cried. Not loud or messy, but silent tears while I lay there, staring at the ceiling of a room that didn't belong to me. Theo didn't ask why. He didn't say anything. He just handed me tissues and quietly pulled the blanket over me. I didn't sleep. I waited for the guilt to come crashing in. And it did. Hard. Fast. Relentless. I left before sunrise. I walked home barefoot, carrying my heels, hoping the morning wind would carry my shame away. Josh was still asleep when I slipped inside. His arm was over his face, mouth slightly open, unaware of everything I'd just done. I stood there for a long time, staring at him, wondering how we got to this place, where I had to betray him just to feel seen. I didn't spend the money. I hid it. I buried the envelope behind my dresser and avoided my reflection for days. But the weight of it didn't disappear. It followed me. Into the shower. Into my dreams. Into every moment Josh tried to touch me, and I flinched. I thought it would be a secret I could take to my grave. But secrets rot, and mine was about to come leaking out in ways I never expected. The end. Please like and subscribe for more interesting stories like this. What do you think of this story? Please comment below.